Hey there, guys. Dragon Master here, and I want to welcome you to Star Wars in Earth, Episode 11, Mandalorians versus Hutt. As you can see, we're sort of changing up a bit. We are not doing like Luke versus Jason Wright yet. That's for Episode 12. I decided to change up a bit and see what's going on in Mandalore right now. I guess without further ado, let's get started. We start off in the Mandalorian system. The Hutt and Mandalorian fleets have been going at it for hours. Both sides are neither giving either side a quarter of any ground, and the fight on the ground is much worse, as Mandalorians, droids, and Hutt mercenaries are fighting all across the planet. The fighting is pretty bad. Currently on the Hutt Dreadnought command ship, there is currently a Hutt general, I guess Hutt commander, who is currently leading the fleet. And he says to his crew, well, I guess his first mate, and asks him, how go our forces? As he's not speaking Huttish, and the man says, we're going well, sir. While we have suffered major losses in certain areas, especially on the ground, our fleet is slowly breaking through. But I worry we might not have much of a fleet, as even with not as many Mandalorians in the system, we're still taking huge amounts of damage. The Hutt nods his head and thanks to himself. We need to hurry and take this system quickly. I have no doubt that the Mandalorians have sent a message to any of their people still out of the system to come back immediately. And they and and his first mate agrees and says, "What should we do, sir?" He looks at the hologram and finds something. There is a I guess a weak spot he has just discovered, which he can use to his advantage. Do you see that? And he points to the battlefield, and on the holograms, Freeman shows and says, I see now. There's a small hole that can be exploited that the Mandalorian fleet has forgot to plug. Exactly. If we can push our smaller vessels through, we can attack them from behind. He nods his head and orders this. On the Mandalorian command ship, Dreadnought, the Mandalorian in charge is currently looking and says, what to do, what to do. He's seen and looks as most of the Hutt fleet is being torn apart, but a good portion of their fleet is being destroyed. And they don't have as many ships as the Hutts. They might not have much left, even if they do survive. He looks at the screen before he finds something. He finds something and says, perfect. Can you contact, is there any Mandalorians fleets around that can assist us? He says to one of his crewmates and they say, Sir, a small Mandalorian squad has just entered the system. Tell them to go around one of the moons and then to attack from behind. With the Hutt fleet occupied with us, they won't know what to hit them. He says, yes, sir, and then he looks. Both the Hutt and Mandalorian commander are looking at the battlefield from their command ship and says, game on, Hutt. I hope you're ready to taste whatever slugs you guys eat. And the Hutt says from his ship and says, it's time you Mandalorians know your place, and that is to serve the Hutt, glorious Hutt Empire, he says. As both fleets and ships get behind what either side notice him before they fire, causing more destruction across the fleet. The Mandalorians on the ground versus the Hutts are doing quite well. They're pushing the Hutt forces back along with their droids. And as the battle progresses onwards, they see that the Hutts are making a retreat. Sir, look, they're retreating. They're retreating. I can see that. And he asks why they're doing it. He looks and sees that, oddly enough, they're retreating to a small canyon on Mandalore. This is a famous canyon. He doesn't like what they're doing. Why would they give us such a position? And he asked, and he orders forces to come with him, as they could just bombard them from a higher up. Why are they doing this, he wonders. He and his forces, he sends a few scouts down to see where they've gone. And then he sees it, and to his shock, basically, there is currently a small, I guess, Hutt base down there. How is this possible, he says. And then he realizes, we have traitors in our midst. But the base opens up, and he sees something and says, what is that? It looks like some sort of tower of sorts which is rising. It's huge, he thinks, as it rises up from the canyon. And he and many Mandalorians look at what is this, he says. But he then looks at it and pays more closer attention and realizes something. Oh no, he says, as he realizes now that those traitorous Mandalorians they had also given them something, as the tower activates and shoots out a ginormous electric wave and tears apart as the Mandalorian commander looks and sees that his forces are beginning. Something is as they're all screaming in agony. His forces are in pain and fall and sees what happens and says, "High command, do you copy? High command, we copy. What's going on? The Hutts, they've acquired." He says, but then the wave hits him and he screams in agony before he dies. The forces who are currently at the capital city look and see, what the is then they see electrical wave. As it ends and asks, what just happened, they say. And then the Mandalorian elder says, bad things are happening. As then they see a ginormous explosion in the sky and sees, it's the Mandalorian command ship and the Hutt command ship. They're both coming down. As both the command ships for the Hutts and Mandalorians fall down to the surface. And that is where we're going to leave it off. So as you can see, the first part of the battle for Mandalore is going pretty well. As it seems it's sort of equal, because I know the Hutts wouldn't underestimate the Mandalorians because they've hired them for they've been mercenaries, they've hired them for thousands of years, so it makes sense they would know. And the galaxy knows not to trifle with them, especially after the Yuuzhan Vong. But anyway, as you can see, you're probably wondering what that device was, and if you watch Star Wars Rebels, Season 4, you'll know, like the first couple episodes of Season 4 of Star Wars Rebels, you'll know what this weapon is. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to say, so I guess without further ado, see ya.